See it on the phone.
I was listening to Israel.
Two people have entered the waiting room. Why waiting room? Come right in. Oh, admit and admit. Okay.
So now they can see Dr. Stein.
No, it's going the wrong way. I'll set this up in a minute. It's like I have to switch the camera around.
Imagine waking up in the morning and seeing Dr. Stein. I don't know how.
I used to watch the same thing.
Okay. Let's see. Check if this is good. Check if this is good and see if you can see them.
Hey, good morning. I see somebody.
Good morning.
Do you see me?
I see Rabbi Smith.
No, because he sees me.
Who is that?
Yeah, I see Rabbi.
So let me do that.
So I see somebody.
Yeah.
Who is that?
He's waving to
Okay,
you.
good.
That was me.
Danielle.
Oh, Moshe's
there.
waving
Okay,
here.
good.
Wait. I want to wait.
I'm really
Hi,
happy.
Moshe.
I'm really happy I see him. So, sure.
Okay. I tried to play with the sound. I don't know if it's going to be better. We're starting the last word on Daf Chavav Amid Aleph. Back to your head a little bit.
I'm up to date. Yes, that's good.
Okay.
Where we?
You want to ask him if the sound is good?
Does it
Or
sound okay?
Yeah.
You got a thumbs up?
Yeah.
And Moshe's just adjusting his glass. Thumbs up from both. Two thumbs from
Thumbs
Moshe.
up. Good.
Oh, man. That's how to sound. Make a breath and see if they
We asked. We
Yeah,
were
last
discussing
line.
yesterday about a tefach.
Is Daniel?
Yeah, he's there. We asked, is this the only thing that have a share of a tefach? But what about this and that and the tumah and
26B1.
a handle on the tanner? We said that the handle of the tanner is also a tefach. We said no, that's the wrong way. Okay, but there is tanurei banais tefach. This is a toy kitchen. The only thing is, in the olden days, I don't think they actually did it as a toy. They would probably light a fire in it, and maybe the kids would make some cookies or something. I don't know. So it was a small little oven that the kids would play with, the girls would play with, and that was a share of a tefach. The Tanya was taught in the Braisa. The Tanner, an oven, tchilase darba. It needs to be 4 tvachim to become tameh, but also it's not considered really an oven. The shiur of dalit, and if it becomes tameh, and if you break it because of klicheres you break to make it pure, and if it's in its pieces, you also have dalit, then it's still tameh. That's the words of Reb Meir. Chachamim say no. That's talking about when you have an oven that's large, then it needs to be 4. And shiarav, we'll see in a minute. Shiarav, according to this, would be that really the oven is 7 tefachim. And so the majority of 7, because the Chum hold you need the majority, as I'll see in a moment, the majority of 7 is 4. Aval b'katan, but if you're starting with a smaller oven to begin with, chilasi kolshu, then even the smallest amount, mishatigmar malachti, as long as it's already complete. Something becomes tummy only after after the gemar malach, only after it's finished. The shiarav berubay, and the what's remaining after it breaks needs to be the majority. And the Mishnah over there says it's talking about an oven that's 9 tvachim, and the majority would be 5 tvachim. The kamakolshu. And when you said when you start the oven, when you start making this, it needs to be just a kolshu. Chilasi kolshu. Rabbi Yanai tefach. Yanai says that it's a tefach. Rabbi Yana is before Rabbi Yochanan. Very early Torah of Eretz Yisrael. Shkenes and Tanuri Banis tefach, because that's how you make Tanuri Banis. You make the children's ovens, the toy kitchen, you make it a tefach. So that's already considered an oven. Okay, so we have a question because we said there's only 5 things. Rabbi Ishia Zeira Demin Chavraya says there's only 5 things that are tefach. Gemara says over here, he wasn't discussing things that were a machlekes. It says Hashem berachas Avram Bakal, right? Hashem blessed Avram with everything. So the Medrash says that Bakal means he gave him a daughter. So they asked. It says a daughter. There's one Medrash says a daughter. So they ask.
Because if he gave her a daughter,
there's a
he'd
son.
get a son-in-law.
So they said before Matan Torah, why does he have to send Yitzchak to marry Rivka? Before Matan Torah, he could marry a close relative. So no, it's a machlekes, and he didn't want to be meshadach into machlekes. Machlekes, you hear about it? It's machlekes if it's a son or a daughter. You want to make a shidduch into machlekes. Okay. So here, beplukta leikamayri. In our list, we didn't have anything that's a machlekes. Hey, the Gemara says if that's the case, hashadasas lahachi. It's coming on to that. Hanami beplukti tani seifa Rabbi Yehuda layam letefach alam natana velakaisel. When we mentioned before the handle of the tanner, we said is a tefach. More than that is not considered tameh. It's not considered attached. You see, the way it works is if you have long handles to something. The long handles, you only count the part that's really the handle. The extra length we assume is going to get broken off or cut off. So we said that a handle to a tanner is a tefach. So we said, why didn't you count that as one of the 5 things? We answered because we're discussing things that need to be a tefach. The handle of an oven, if it's less than a tefach, it's also tameh. We said that doesn't count because more than a tefach is not tameh. So now we're saying you don't have to answer that. You could just say it's a machlekes, and he's not discussing machlekes. Okay. The Tani safe. Okay, that we did. I'm gonna tell you this. Gemara asks, "V'ika miskeres tefach." The shulchan, the table that had the lechem upon him, had a little trim on it. That machlekes if the trim went above the table or if it went under the table like a support. It's either over here or over here. But whatever it is, miskeres, the pasuk says miskeres tefach. So it says that's a tefach. Could have listed that. It says b'diksivan like Kamari. We're not discussing things that are written in the Torah. Ve'ika kapayras tefach. What about the kapayras? The lid on the aron, it doesn't tell us how big it is. And we learn out from ways of learning out. The Gemara Sukkah learns it out. It could be that we learn it from the miskeres itself, that it's a tefach. The miskeres is a tefach, the kapayras is a tefach, but we learn it from some other. We have other sources to learn it from the height of the kruvim, or from the pnei. We learn it from the face of Yitzchak or something. So the lid on the aron is a tefach. The Gemara says b'kachim like Kamari. We're not dealing with things of kachim. Now kachim must mean like kodesh kadashim. Otherwise, the miskeres is also kachim. The Gemara says, 1 second. When you speak about a mavi making an eruv, and if you have a alleyway, it's like this. An alleyway like this. So at the end of the alleyway, you have to put a beam across or a beam down. It says it's enough if that's a tefach. The beam across is a tefach. That it should be a tefach. You see, we have another din that needs a tefach. It says b'derabanan like Kamari. We're not dealing with things that are rabbinic. So we're getting very specific. over here what exactly we're dealing with. We're talking about things that are in the Torah, but that the Torah doesn't tell me the size of it. So for that we said there's 5. Okay.
Excuse me. I didn't understand the alleyway. What do you mean the alleyway in the end is only like this?
You only have 3 walls in an alley, right?
Right, but I mean an alleyway is usually a wide corridor.
A wide corridor.
So how can it end with a tefach
So
that connects?
you need to make a beam across the top from one end to
You're
another.
saying
It would be an
minimum
area.
of this distance?
So it says that according to this, it needs to be a tefach wide. The lechi doesn't have to be a lechi because we have culture, a little pole, but the kaira needs to be a tefach. We use a string. It's not really a tefach. Okay. So Yosef Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta Kameder Rav Kahana. Yosef Kamar. Now Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta, the historians believe, is a relative of Rav, because Rav had 4 uncles. His father's name was Evu. The next brother's name was Chana with the Aleph. Then he had Sheila. Then he had Martha. Then he had Reb Chia. Reb Chia was his uncle in 2 ways, because his father married Reb Chia's sister. That's a whole discussion. But anyway, Martha has a son Shmuel, and Shmuel has a son Reb Yitzchak. So Reb Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta is sitting in front of Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana is a student of Rav, a famous student of Rav. Yosef Amar. And he's the one that had to run away, Rav Kahana. Probably had to run to Eretz Yisrael. At the end of Baba Kama, he runs away.
What have you done?
He killed someone, and he killed a Meiser, and Rav suggested that the government would not be so happy with it, so he ran to Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Yochanan, thank you. Rabbi Yochanan wasn't so happy with him, and he looked at him because his lip was he had a cleft palate. He thought he was laughing at him, so he kind of died, and Rabbi Yochanan revived him. That's in Yerushalmi and Brachos. So here, Rabbi Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta is sitting in front of Rav Kahana. Rabbi Yosef coming, he's saying like this: Amar Rav Yudah Marav, saying a statement from his relative. Rav Yehuda says the name of Rav. The first 3 days after a birth, you say that the shilya is from that birth. But after 3 days, then you make things complicated. You say that the birth was a birth. The shilya had its own child in it. The shilya had its own child, had its own fetus, and it's not the one that was back then. Amar Lei, Rav Kahana says, "Mi Amar Rav Hachi." Rav really said that. Amar Rav says, Rav says that the vlad, if there's twins, it doesn't wait. You read a picture of a sandal? With the 2 eyes. You see that?
The next page too.
And this is a turbot. But that, you think that's what it is? This looks like
This one, the other one is, he has a picture also. You couldn't see it in the.
You see this?
Right. The 2 eyes that got
This
flat
is
out.
2 eyes, both eyes on the left side.
Wow.
Turbot. Yeah. See on the bottom, 2 eyes.
Good job.
2 eyes on the
People
left
say that
side.
it's a turbot.
No.
No.
You
Fish
see,
has
fish has
a
an eye here and an eye here.
Yeah.
This guy's got flat hook. The two eyes are on the top.
This is a good book. You know why? Because it says the way to catch it is with bait fishing.
Like a
It tells you how to catch it also.
under the sea, under the
Dr.
sea.
Stein waking up.
So Rob says that twins don't wait; they come out together. So what are you saying that the Shilya is coming out after 3 days, and it's a different and it's a different offspring? It's impossible that it could be delayed like that. They have to come out together. Ishtar. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Martha is quiet. Amalei, Rav Kana responds, Dilmakan b'nefel kan b'ben kayama. Maybe there's a difference. By a ben kayama, they're going to come out together. They're both viable. They're both viable. Then both twins are going to be born right away. So here we're discussing that there's a birth, there's a miscarriage. Then there's a placenta that comes out after 3 days. We say that placenta is not from that miscarriage. It has its own miscarriage in it, and we just can't find it. What's going to happen is that's going to affect the tumah, the days of tumah, if it's 3 days later. So Rav Kana suggests that maybe there's a difference between a nafel, where it can wait 3 days or more. It can wait up to 3 days, and Ben Kayama, where it has to come out immediately, and that resolves the contradiction with Rav. Amalei, at Amr Tishmaita de Rav. I don't know exactly what he means. I know he's surprised. Saying, you're going to tell me the explanation for Rav. The Ferish Amar Rav Hachi. Rav said the following. Ipila Nefel, if it miscarried, aborts, let's say, a miscarriage, and afterwards there's a placenta, all the 3 days after the miscarriage, we say that the placenta came from the offspring, original birth, but after that, then you assume that it's a different blood. Yalda.
Tell them in the first place. Why did he wait till he?
Oh, he reminded him.
Setting them up.
Yalda, if he gave birth to a viable child, and then there was a placenta. Then we don't suspect. I'm sorry. We don't suspect that there's another birth. We say that it came from the first one. But it's not what Rav Kana said. Rav Kana was saying the opposite. He was saying that by a ben kayama, it needs to come out immediately. By a ben kayama, it needs to come out immediately. Or maybe it is what he says. Because what it means is that you don't suspect if there would have been another birth, it would have come out immediately. And so this placenta must be from the first birth. That's what it means. It is the same teaching. So by a nafel, you have to be concerned.
If she actually had a viable baby,
then you don't assume that there was another one that's being delayed. Even 10 days later, it's the placenta is from the first baby. There was no other baby there. Shmuel, the Talmidei de Rav, must have been a real Fabrengen. Shmuel and Rav students, they're usually arguing. And here, you have Shmuel, the Talmidei de Rav, Rav Yehuda, Havayasvi, they were all sitting. I wonder if it's after Rav passed away. Because after Rav passed away, the Talmidim of Rav went to Shmuel. They didn't appoint another Rosh Hashiva in Surah, I think, for a while. So, Khalifa Azal, he would say, he make a comment there, doesn't he? Khalifa Azal, Rav Yosef Breder, Rav Menashe Midvil. Sounds like in Poland or something. Rav Yosef, the son of Rav Menashe from Deville, passes by La Payo, goes by them. Balivasi, that means he's rushing. Amar, someone says, I don't know who says this, but someone says, here comes a person that we can ask him an easy question that with a stick of a wheat stalk, we can ask him a question so light and we'll be able to push him off. Does it say who's making that statement?
Because they're passing us, there's a one said to the other.
Oh, one said to the other. Okay, it doesn't say. Okay. Adahachi, meanwhile, Asa, he came. Amalei Shmuel, so Shmuel says, let's see. Mayam Rav B'Shilya. What is Rav's halacha regarding a shilya, a placenta? Tell us something from Rav. Amalei Hachi Amar Rav, so says Rav. Ein tolian as a shilya, ela b'davar shel kayama. The shilya, you assume, Ein tolian as a shilya, ela b'davar shel kayama means that if there was any sort of abnormal birth, you don't say that the shilya came from that birth. It needs to come, a shilya, if there's a placenta, it comes from a real child. Not any of those kamin, behema, or something. Now, the chiddush here is that even within the first 3 days, because we said before that it depends, up to 3 days, then you do say that it came from that. Here we're saying that even within the first 3 days, you don't say that it came from that birth. You say it has its own child, even within the first 3 days. So, it's a big chiddush. So Shmuel turns to the student of Rav, and they say so. They nod in approval, or they say that yes, Rav actually said that. He gave a what's the word they use for bishas?
Says he looked at him harshly.
He looked at him harshly, and they gave him a stare. And the stare was, if Rav said this, why didn't you tell me? Because Rabbi Yehuda was a student of Rav. He was upset that Rabbi Yehuda didn't tell him such an important teaching from Rav.
So we're talking about twins then. There was a real birth.
We're talking about if there's a birth that's abnormally formed.
At the beginning?
Yeah. And then there's a placenta. So we always said that a placenta means that there's a child, and therefore the house is tameh and all of that. We thought that if it's within 3 days of the birth, the placenta comes out, we thought that it's the placenta that's attached to that birth. After 3 days, we thought that it has its own child that we just don't know where it is or whatever it's out. Now we're saying that if it's an abnormally developed fetus, so you don't assume that the placenta came from that. Even within 3 days, you say that there was another child here that's associated with this placenta. Okay, and that was the chiddush. These great names today. Yosi ben Shol asks from Rebbe, "Hamapelas the most oire v'shilya mahu." What does it say?
It's in the shape of a raven.
No, what does it say?
It says that in the case of a woman who discharges an item in the form of a crow, and there's also an afterbirth. What's the halacha?
But there's an expression, like in English we say John Doe.
Yeah.
In Hebrew, besides playing on money, but if you wanted to say that two people have the same name, Yosi ben, I forget what it uses. It uses a name.
Cloning?
No, if you have two people that have the same name and the same father's name, Yosef ben Shnei Yosef ben something the ear. I remember when Rabbi Schechter came by. I think the Schechter he was who was the one that went to Auschwitz after the war? He was a chaplain or something. It was his father. So anyway, he came by the Rebbe The Rebbe says, oh, you have a koilel. So he says, no, the Shnei Yosef ben Shimon. It's Yosef ben Shimon. He says, no, there's two Yosef ben Shimons in the city. It's a different Rebbe Shech. Okay, that Yosef ben Shaul. So Rabbi Yosef ben Shaul's question of Rebbe is like this. If there's a raven that's born, or it looks like a raven, and there's together with it is a placenta. A crow. Okay. Okay. Amarle, Rebbe responds, Ein toilen el b'davar sheish min shilya. I have to look in the book. No, it doesn't count. That's not associated with the crow, that placenta. Why? Because when a crow is born, it doesn't come with the placenta. It's born in an egg, whatever it is, but there's no placenta on the birth of the crow. So therefore here there's a crow that's born, there's no placenta with it. He's viewing it like as if it's really a crow. We weren't viewing it like that. Okay. Then he says, Kshura Baimal. Let's say it's like actually attached to it. Amalei, Davar She'inai Shalta. You're asking something that's impossible. It never existed. It's a hypothetical question.
But she's saying the bird has an umbilical cord
that's attached to that's not impossible. It's not a practical question. Esvei, there's a question on Rebbe that says that this is impossible. Take a look. Someone gives birth, a woman gives birth to something that looks like an animal, a beast, or a bird, and that's going to be our problem.
This is Rebbe
Danasi. The Shilya Imam, and there's a placenta there. If it's attached, then you don't suspect another blood. If it's not attached, then you are choishes. You do suspect that there's another offspring associated with that placenta. So what you're going to do is you're going to put on it the stringency of two births. Shani Yomer, because we're going to say Shemini Moach Shpir Shel Shilya. We're going to say that the sac or the fetus of the Shilya dissolved. And this birth, what actually came out, dissolved, the placenta from that dissolved. Where's the placenta from that? Where's the birth of this? We say those two dissolved, and here we have two separate independent births. Tiyufta, this is a strong kash on Rabbi. Why is it a kash on Rabbi? Because it says there's a oif, it has a shilya, and it's kshura iman. It's attached.
Why is it a tiyufta? Why can't you just say some quickness? Rabbi already disagrees with the Braisa.
No, because Rebbe said that it's impossible for that to happen.
He disagrees.
And the Bryce is saying,
that's fine. He disagrees. Rebbe's a fan. He could disagree with whoever he wants.
Also, it's specifically saying a raven, right? A raven is a bird that...
The question is, I understand they're bringing from a Braisa, but then they're saying to you. So why is it a
Bryce is showing us that it's possible.
He's disagreeing. He could disagree.
We don't like to have machlekes mitzias. We don't like to have a machlekes tanoim that we don't.
Why would there be a tiyufta on the Braisa? You bring the Braisa and you say tiyufta on the Braisa.
I guess because Rebbe is the latest, is the editor of all of this. This is an earlier Braisa. Rebbe's the one that put it together.
There's such a thing in tanoim that this one is before, this one is after. They can't argue on each other.
No, not that they can't argue, but a practical thing that we're going to always try to avoid.
When they say two chametz, they mean so she's still made for 2 weeks and then she's stored for only a month, roughly. Because
right.
We don't know what's male and female.
Right. That's it. And the problem with the placenta is it gets worse. Because the placenta, we don't know what the offspring is at all. Mm-hmm. The other one, we could have looked at it and you see if it's a male or this, and according to that opinion or whatever. Okay, Amar Rabba Bar Shila, Amar Rav Masna, Amar Shmuel. Rav Masna, Amar Shmuel is very common, and Rabba Bar Shila is also there. Maisa, he says like Rav Masna, Rav Masna was a student of Shmuel, but Shmuel respected him a lot. He would ask him tell me how you learned this pasuk and different things like that. So Maisa, there was a story, V'tolu es hashilya bevlad ad asara yamim, that they said that the shilya was associated with this offspring, and it was 10 days later. But they only say that you can associate them is only if the shilya came after the birth, not before the birth. Amar Rabba bar bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabba bar bar Chana says the name of Rabbi Yochanan. By the way, we mentioned the uncles of Rav today. So one of the uncles, his name was Chana. So Chana had a son, Rabba, and Rabba had a son, Rabba. And that's why it's Rabba bar bar Chana. It's Rabba bar Chana. It's Rabba bar Chana. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, he said he was a student of Rabbi Yochanan. Ma'aseh v'telu es hashilya bevlad ad chaf gimel yamim. There was the placenta came out 23 days later, and they said that it was from the same birth. Amalei Rav Yosef ad chaf daled amifnan. Rav Yosef says, what Rav Yosef is doing in Eretz Yisrael. Is there any correction anywhere? No, all right. They said that it was really 24 days. Amar Rav Acha Breder Rav Avira Amar Rav Yitzchak. Here the Bach changes it to Rabbi Yochanan. Ma'asev v'nishtav lad acha chaveira lamed gimel yom. There's a story that there was a birth, and then there was another birth 33 days later. Amalei Rav Yosef lamed daled amatan. Yosef says it was really 34 days later. Okay. Honey, chalaman damar yiled slatisha yiled slamikutam mishkachas la. There's a discussion like this. When you say that there's a 9-month pregnancy and a 7-month pregnancy, 7th month pregnancy, everyone agrees, doesn't need to be a full 7 months. It could be any time during 7th month. 9-month pregnancy is a machlekes, if it needs to be a full 9 months, or if it could be any time within the 9th month. So it goes like this. If you hold that a 9-month pregnancy does not need to be a full 9 months, it could be any time within the 9th month. One of them gave birth, one of them was born, there's twins here, right? One of them was a 7th month pregnancy, and one of them was a 9th month pregnancy. And the 9th month doesn't need to be the full 9th month, it could be somewhere in the middle. So the end of the 7th to the beginning of the 9th could be 33 or 34 days. But if it needs to be a full 9 months, so then how do you have that there? What was her birth? Her birth story was 33 days. So the Gemara answers, Eipach Shmaitza. Switch it around. Lamed Gimel L'Shilya Chaf Gimel L'Vlad. What we're doing is like this. We're saying that the 33-day delay before something came out was not the birth that came out. That was the placenta that came out 33 days later. That's possible. But the birth would need to be only 23 days apart, and it was both within the 7th month. Because in the 7th month, everyone agrees that it doesn't need to be a full 7 months. Amar Rav Oven, you got to see this story. You saw this already? You saw the story? Amar Rav Oven bar Rav Ada, Amar Rav Menachem ish Kfar Sharim, V'amila Beis Sharim. It's either from Kfar Sharim or from Beis Sharim. Ma'asev v'nishtav la'adecha dacha chavira gimel chadashim. This is a story that there was twins, and one was born 3 months before the other one. And they're sitting and learning in the Beis Medrash. Who are they? Yehuda v'Chizkiya b'nei Reb Chia. This is Yehuda and Chizkiya, the sons of Reb Chia. You one time told me which one was older. You had a note about Yehuda and Chizkiya. These are twins, the son of Reb Chia and his wife Yehudis. Oh wow. The first generation of Miraim. Yehuda and Chizkiya moved from Babylon to Israel. Their parents. Yehuda, who was apparently the firstborn, married the daughter of Rabbi Yanai. and died during his father's lifetime. Rabbi Yanai held his son Yehuda in highest name and nicknamed him Sinai. He would stand before him. We mentioned Rabbi Yanai earlier. See who we're dealing with? This is Reb Chia. Reb Chia, Yehuda and Chia. And apparently Yehuda married the daughter of Yanai on the top of the chart. And they were twins. How are the twins that were born apart? The woman that becomes pregnant cannot become pregnant again while she's carrying. It was really one conception, and it divided into two fetuses. One finished, was completely formed after 7. One was formed after 9. Do we have any idea of the 7th month, what that means?
The only thing I can think of here is that there were twins that they shared. Does it say when the placenta came out?
No.
Okay, so there were twins. They shared the same placenta, and there's a situation where one twin is much bigger than the other because it kind of steals the blood. I forget that there's a name for that, like placental steal syndrome.
Oh, was that what Daniel sent us yesterday? He sent us something about a.
Barry Levinson made a movie.
Yeah, that's fun. I don't know what he's looking, but he's not saying anything. But oh wait, maybe he can say something. Can he
Yeah,
speak
that
anything?
vanishing
I'll
twin
take out
syndrome.
the thing. Let's see. Daniel.
Vanishing twin syndrome. Yeah, that's when one overpowers the other. Yeah.
Right.
Related.
Yeah.
What's the name of it?
Vanishing twin syndrome.
Okay, but that's where the other one totally is gone. But
Right,
typically,
right.
they're both born.
This
One
for
is
you.
smaller than the other because one took, one took more nourishment. So I don't know, maybe theoretically, if one was born and then the other was like kind of still preemie and it didn't come out, it could continue to
Take a break.
Wow.
grow. I mean, yeah, I'm not OBGYN. So,
Wow.
but,
You're under the seat.
under the sea.
Okay.
Do that one more time.
No.
Oh, here's something.
One more time.
Oh, you see, Yehuda and Chizki were cousins of Rav. Rav must have been aware of the circumstances of their birth. That's a good question. And Rav said, oh my gosh. You heard the question? That's a good question. They're cousins of Rav. Because Reb Chia is Rav's uncle. And Rav said before that they need to be born together. There's never any delay. And here they're 3 months apart. What do you do? The Ramban writes that it's highly implausible that the Rav didn't know about this. The Ram says what you said, that one was underdeveloped. The Ram.
Look what he's studying.
Under the sea.
Okay. Shilya, where are we holding? Shilya Babayas, Abayas tummy. There's a placenta in the house is tummy. Tana Rabbanan. Okay.
Or it's one shilya.
Uh-huh.
If time separates,
Then?
one can live after that more time. If it's
Uh-huh.
together, they have to shilya
You
both.
hear that? Is that possible?
Say that again?
If there's 2 placentas or 1 placenta.
Yeah.
He says if there's 2, then 1 can stay longer.
Well, I don't see why not.
Okay.
But if there's one placenta,
Then it's come right away. Or they have delay. I mean, they'll have delay, but not much. They'll come out.
What's it called?
We cannot live
smicha for
without it.
doctors. What's it called?
sniffle doctors,
What do they call it when you become a doctor?
doctor,
Oh no, but is there some like
a doctorate,
a
doctor of medicine.
Okay, remind me. Get
You're
the
now a
doctor.
doctor of medicine.
Yep.
Get a
The
doctor.
reason I know because my wife, she's nurse, so probably
Oh,
Yeah.
I had a lot of conversation regarding that.
Shkoyach.
Here's a car.
Shkoyach.
Okay, Taner Rabbanan.
Wow. Today is
Taner Rabbanan. They taught in the Bryce Shilya Babayas. If there's a placenta in the house, so we assume that there's a fetus that's there. So Habayas tummy, the house is tummy. Leisha Shilya Blad, not because the placenta is the offspring. Elashain Shilya Shain Bladima. Divrei Rabbi Meir. It's just that there's no Shilya that doesn't have a blad together with it. That's the words of Rabbi Meir, so the house is tummy. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, Matarin. These are all students of Rabbi Akiva. We mentioned this before, probably. The only one missing is Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Shimon all agree that the house is tahar. Amru Laila Rabbi Meir. They say to Rabbi Meir, Yat Maidash Meitziu Besefel. They take it out in a bowl. This was in the inner room where it was born. You go to the outer room, the next room. Shehutar, that the house is going to be tar. You're saying only where the actual birth took place is that room tamei. But if you take it in a bowl, this placenta, into the next room, so then the house is going to be tar. Amar lehen aval, he says, I agree with you. That's correct. Aval means yes. Correct. Emes. Balama. Why is it? Lefisha einai. Because it's not there. Okay. They said to him, if it's not there in the outer room, it's not in the inner room. So Amar Lahan, Rabbi responds, I think what the mayor means is like this, is that there's a birth. Now, it's not whatever cells there are, for some reason, they're not being held together. So you have everything was born of this blood, enough that the house should be tamei. But when you start to shake it up, everything separates. Something wasn't holding it together. So it's born in this house, in this room. This room is tamei. When you shake it and you move it to the next room, it already gets dissolved and all mixed up. It's not together anymore. That's what I'm imagining. Yosef Rav Papa, Chayrid Rav Bibi, Kamed Rav Hamnuna. Rav Papa sitting behind Rav Bibi in front of Rav Hamnuna. Rav Hamnuna was I don't think he's called Rav Hamnuna Saba.
That's not Rav Hamnuna from
Rav Hamnuna Saba is in the Zayar Allah. Yeah. Rav Hamnuna was a Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda praised Rav Ula, I think, praised Rav Hamnuna to Rav Chisda. And Rav Chisda didn't approve of Rav Hamnuna because he wasn't married at that point. He was over 20, I think. And Rav Chisda said, don't come back until you're married. So, did he? Yeah, it doesn't conclude with at least not in that's a Gemara Kedushin. The Yosef Kamar, my time with the Reb Shimon. Rav Papa is sitting in front of Rav Hamnuna, and he's saying, what's the reason for Reb Shimon? Kasavar, Reb Shimon Holt, you see, he chose 1 out of 3. Kasavar kol tuma shenisarav b'mimin acher batla. Any tuma that there's mixed into it other things is going to be batla, and therefore it's not going to be tummy. So Amar lahu Rav Papa, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, very good. Rav Papa says that must be the reason for Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. Achichola, they started to laugh at Rav Papa. Maishna pshita, that's so obvious. Why do you even have to say that? You come over here, you're saying things that you think is a chiddush. Amar Rav Papa says, even such a thing, a person should not be quiet, he should say in front of his teacher. Mishum shenemar, because it says, im navalta, if you'll be like shamed, this nase, ultimately you'll be raised up. The im zamas, if you like cut off from saying, I think it means if you don't say, if you're muzzled, so then yad lepeh, you'll end up putting your hand over your mouth because you won't know anything. Like you say, oh, I don't know. That's it. You follow that? It says you should make yourself ashamed in front of the teacher to make sure that you have it clear and not remain silent, not restrain yourself, and end up not knowing anything.
Wow. It's better to be embarrassed.
Better to be embarrassed, yeah, that you should be able to learn.
But they laughed at him, right?
They laughed at him, and Rav Papa said it doesn't matter that they laughed. I'm still learning, and that's
From the fact they brought this in the Gemara, there's something.
the lesson, yeah.
Ask your question even if you're going to be ridiculed. So
Want to tell us to your students?
right? We have here. This is terribly not shy.
Never muzzles himself.
Terribly not shy. He follows the law.
He had a good one with the Bach and Beethoven.
They sent me to the dean's office.
His Rosh Hashiva was talking about the Bach, right? So he said it was.
Well, what happened? He asked a question to a kid who didn't know the answer. He gave like a totally wrong answer. So he said to him, like, where did you learn that from? So I wanted to save the embarrassment to him. I said, oh, he wasn't looking in the Bach. He was looking in the Beethoven. And he didn't think it was funny. He sent me the dean's office. The dean thought it was funny. He said, sit there, do whatever you want, come back in half an hour.
Because
reaping
there's,
the
on
rewards.
the tour, there's two commentators. There's the Beis Yosef and the Bach. So he said, okay. So, but us the Reb Shimon Latame, Reb Shimon follows his reasoning. The Tanya was taught in the Brisa. Moli Tarved Rekev or Rakov, a spoonful of this is disintegrated corpse. Shenafal L'Teichayafar Kalshu. That a drop of dirt came into it. This is if you're
Very,
familiar.
very.
The Rambam has a lot. He writes on this different things, how it's done, how it would need to be. When would such a thing be tummy? It's going to say that it needs to be in a house that's made out of marble. It's going to say so because there's no other dust there. The halacha is usually not like Reb Shimon, but if there's a machlekes, but let's see. Here it looks like the halacha is like it has a dollar there. That if there's a no, it's not like Reb Shimon. It's like the Tanakama. The shenafal teichayafar kolshu tamei. A drop of dirt makes it tamei, but Reb Shimon mitar. It would still be tamei. Reb Shimon says it's tar. I seem to remember that from the Rambam that it is like Reb Shimon. So I don't know what the here it says. It's like the rabbis. It's like the rabbis that a drop of dust remains impure. Okay. My time with Reb Shimon. Why does Reb Shimon say this? Amar, it's either Rabba or Rava, depending on if you want to follow the Bach's Girsa. Ashkachtinu l'Rabbanan debei Rav. I found the rabbis of Rav. The Yasri v'Ka'amri, that they were sitting and they were saying, Ef sheshla yirbush they pray this offer, I'll pray the achas shel rakav v'chasalei. They're like this. You have a mixture. So when you have a mixture, you have you can view. Yeah, it passed me if I have a mixture like this, so I want to say that this one is bottle in these two. Okay, so he's saying, oh look, that one has to be bottle in these two, and then this one is bottle in these two, so it's going to be bottle. So he says, "V'aminalahu," but I said them back, "Adarabba, if they pray this rakav, I'll pray the achas offer." I'm going to say the other way. I'm going to say that. What are you saying? That this guy is bottle. This one's bottle. Look, there's two here that are being mevatel. That's one. Why are you saying that the dirt is mevatel, the rakav, the disintegrated, whatever residue, disintegrated particles from the corpse? I'll say that the corpse is being mevatel the offer. The nafish, you have to say, the nafish leishira, and it has even a bigger shear now because the dirt was bottled. Elam Rabba Rava. Haina time with the Reb Shimon Seifa Kitfilase. We do the end like the beginning. Matchilasi Naslei Davaracher Gangilain. How do they translate that? Becomes nullified is what I saw. Serves as a nullification. I have no clue what the word is. Some explain this term as referring to a matter that contradicts another matter, nullifying and ruining it, or maybe rolled up. Kingala, meaning belt, item that surrounds other items.
It's an antidote.
What is it?
Use the word antidote.
So, interesting. So, matchilase, it becomes like a gangi line. That means something that nullifies it. Sefer nasle davaracher gangi line. Maihi. What are we referring to here? It says the Tanya was taught in the Brisa. What type of corpse has this disintegrated material that will turn it into, that will make tameh? And which one is not going to have rakav? Nikvar arum ba'arum shel shayis, if it's buried naked in a coffin of marble, or on a stone floor. That's going to have the rakav because there's nothing else disintegrating with it. And what is the corpse that doesn't have it? If it's buried in its clothes or wood or on bricks. And we only say rakav for a corpse that died.
Would that be proof for Reb Shimon?
No, Reb Shimon says that
It's telling you that if you have clothing or dead, then it's mixed, and
Right.
therefore it's not
Reb Shimon
gonna be
says
tar.
that originally to get the rakav, everyone holds to get the rakav, it needs to be 100% pure. If once you have it, something else mixes into it, does it? What happens then? That's a machlekes Reb Shimon and the Tanakh. Okay, let's leave it over here. Rakav
So that
is
explains why
disintegrated
people-
dust from a.
That explains why people are buried with clothing and wood, and then you put those earth on the Eretz Yisrael and everything.
Rakav is the dust from
Okay, thank you.
corpse.
Thank
Okay,
you.
let's see.
Okay, shkoyach.
Does
Thank
it sound
you.
a little better?
Much better. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Good day.
You too.